Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beauty School Bobbi podcast. Today I am here with Garrett Schuler, who is going to talk us through some legislation and just some discussions about some laws that may be changing for beauty schools. And this directly affects financial aid, which, as we know, is one of the main ways that students are able to step into this career. And we're just going to jump into what is happening with this and then what beauty professionals can do to help this. There's going to be a call to action for some beauty professionals when the time comes for us to reach out to congressmen and women and to just really make sure that the people that are making these laws understand what the beauty industry looks like. There is always so much talk about hours and about financial aid, just again, laws that impact the beauty industry as a whole. And all of that stuff can be so confusing. So I went to Garrett and asked him if he would come on and talk about this. Garrett is on the board for the American Association of Career Schools, and they are really the ones that are lobbying and making sure that schools are protected, that students are protected, and that our industry is protected. So I know that this is not usually a fun thing to talk about. Most people are not super pumped to talk about legislation and laws and rules, but I wanted somebody to explain this to us in the most simple terms. So Garrett is here today to do that. So I hope you love this episode. When you're done listening or watching, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you are subscribed so you can be notified when new episodes come out. But if you're listening on podcasts, make sure you give us a review, leave a comment down below. We would love to hear from you. And I hope you love it, guys.
If you're a beauty school owner or educator listening right now, I want to share something we actually use inside of our school, Beautista. Placement tracking has become one of the hardest parts of running a school. Between spreadsheets, emails, binders, and chasing down employment updates, it can get overwhelming fast. And on top of that, marketing your school and showing real student outcome matters more than ever. That's why we implemented Beautista. Beautista is a portfolio-first career platform built specifically for the beauty industry. Instead of graduating with just a resume, our students build professional digital portfolios that salons can discover and hire from. Beautista supports over 130,000 plus beauty professionals and partners with schools across the country. At the same time, it helps us modernize placement tracking and keep career outcomes organized and in one place. It's not just a hiring tool, it's a marketing tool. When prospective students can see real portfolios, real engagement, and real career momentum, that changes the enrollment conversation. And beyond placement, Beautista hosts over 1,200 live free classes and mentorship experiences just this year with top educators and brands, so students keep growing, building confidence, and staying connected long after graduation. If you want to modernize placement, elevate your student marketing, and give your graduates a real competitive edge, head to Beautista.com and check it out today. Behind the chair, but ready for more? If you're serious about turning your talent into a real business, From Chair to Boss is for you. It's education and community built for beauty pros in their first 0 to 5 years, and for students. It's the perfect exit course to help you graduate with a plan. Pricing, financing, branding, marketing, and the business tactics that make entrepreneurship feel possible. This isn't theory. It's built from Mariah Villarreal's real journey. She's a hairstylist turned CEO, founder of Pink Pewter and From Chair to Boss, and she's helped empower thousands of beauty pros to think like owners and build careers that last. You can take the full program or choose individual courses like financial readiness, branding and marketing, business tactics, and clientele building. And you'll also get the best part, the community, a place to connect, ask questions, get support, and grow with other beauty pros who are building their future. And you're invited to a free Zoom on Monday, March 30th. Fear is Keeping You Broke with Mariah Villarreal. Get involved at education.mariahvillarreal.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beauty School Bobbi podcast. Today I am joined by Garrett Schuler. Garrett, thank you so much for being here with us today. You are representing the American Association of Career Schools. You're a school owner yourself. I thought that you would be the perfect person to come on and talk about everything legislation, rules, laws, like all the fun things about the beauty industry.
Yes, yes. Thanks, Bobby. Yeah, the fun things. There's a lot of great things about this industry. Some not so much as fun, but it's still very much so important. And important for us, not only as schools, but as licensees to always be aware of. We are in a regulated industry, so it's important to pay attention to those regulations. And hopefully we can talk about that a little bit about that today. But
Yeah.
as you mentioned, yes, my name is Garrett Schuler. I am the chair of the AACS Board of Directors, and I am also the vice president of Kenneth Shuler School of Cosmetology. And we have 7 campus locations in the state of South Carolina, and I am a second generation school owner. My father was a barber by trade and decided he wanted to get into the school education business and bought a barber college. And here we are 50 plus years later, about to celebrate our 60th year in business and just going strong and enjoying every bit of it. But thank you for
Yes.
having me on here today.
Yes, for sure. Well, I think you're the perfect person to talk to because you are in the schools, adding all of this on. Like you said, you have 7 locations. So adding on all of the work that you're doing right now to fight for our industry and to fight for beauty professionals is just it's a lot. There's a lot happening and a lot of moving pieces. And we're just thankful that organizations like ACTS exist, that people like you exist to be able to do the things that a lot of us feel like we don't have time for, right? Like a lot of us could say, and I know you do not either. You don't have the time, you've made the time, and there is amazing people on the board that are a part of this organization as well, that are doing this and fighting this fight for us. So we're so grateful for that. Just as beauty professionals, people in the industry, I know we're all thankful for the work that you're doing. I want to talk a little bit about what that work is because right now there are some things happening that are just, I mean, there's work being done all the time.
Mhm.
There are moments throughout history where it just becomes a little more important that we do speak up, that there are people there representing, that we attend Hill Days, and we're going to get into what that looks like and what that is. But now it's the time for us to act. We can't just sit back and wait for things to happen. We've got to be proactive. And there are so many people that are doing that, including you. So I want to talk about some things that are happening in the industry right now. I mean, there's a lot of conversation about deregulation. There's legislation that you all are basically focusing on right now to make sure that beauty schools are protected, that we are, in a space right now where things could change quickly. And we need to make sure that we're ready for that. So tell me what your main focus is in Washington. I know you've been in Washington a lot. You've been up there. I mean, we talked when you were in Washington, and tell me what you're doing, what you're focusing on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And first, let me just say that, I get the luxury of having the title of board chair, but there are so many folks that are part of all of this advocacy that happens for our industry, whether it be members of our government relations committee that are members within the association, whether it be help from our folks in Washington, from our lobbyists to just curate messaging or help direct us in ways. Again, my board of directors, everyone is very supportive, and just our members in general. Everyone is passionate about what we do. So yes, it is under the association, but it's an association of members, and everybody's working really, really hard to make sure that our messages are heard loud and clear. So I just want to acknowledge that because I couldn't do what I do without a great team of people helping to facilitate the work. But yeah, there's a lot going on right now, whether it is state related issues. And you mentioned, deregulation. There's some challenges with hours reductions and, changes to just licensure in general in our states that everyone needs to be aware of. But at the federal level, there are new regulations that are being proposed by the Department of Education. And it's done in the understanding of looking for financial value and transparency with higher education. This administration was very strong on accountability and the best usage of taxpayer dollars in education. And unfortunately, the measuring or the mechanism they are putting together to measure that, we see quite a few flaws in how it impacts beauty and wellness type institutions and the industry as a whole. And that's the message that we've been trying to get across up in Washington, whether it be with our legislators, members of Congress, or whether it be with department officials, because one rule does not necessarily fit all. And we have a very intricate and unique industry. And we just don't feel that some of those intricacies are being accounted for in how we are being measured as schools. At the end of the day, it comes down to things like students having a choice. And we feel very strongly that students should have a choice of where to go to school and should be able to make those decisions based on a multitude of factors. But when those choices are taken away or that access is taken away from those students, we want to step in and we want to advocate for them, not only those that are in our schools today, but those who would like to attend our schools in the future.
Mm-hmm. So this is affecting financial aid potentially. So this is going to really set some parameters for where students can use things like Pell Grant and federal student loan, right? Which both of us know as school owners is really, really important for the students in the school to be able to attend schools. When options are, being thrown out, like, well, there's, the state schools and this and that. You and I had talked about even just some metrics with those things where private schools are sometimes higher passing rates for state board. There are higher placement rates, a lot of different opportunities that schools like ours are able to provide to students, and many other great schools out there. So it is really important that students have access to financial aid. I know that I'm sure, feel the same way, that most of our students coming into the schools are using financial aid to get started. When I went to college, I had a federal student loan, and all of those things. Like, there is necessary aid there, and to have that potentially taken away, it just really hurts the students, which again will domino effect, hurt the industry. So that's really the main thing that we're talking about right now, correct?
Absolutely. And Bobbi, you hit it, I think, right there on the head. There's folks that have dreamed about a career in beauty, whether it's cosmetology, aesthetics, nails, skincare, massage, or barbering, all of the great facets that we have with licensure under beauty and wellness. And not everyone has the ability to pay for that out of pocket. It would be great if they did. And I'm sure if they did, they would be more than happy to do so. But most folks need that chance, need that helping hand. And whether it's through financial aid or Pell Grants, that's a great way for them to be able to jumpstart their careers. And in our opinion, and I would think you would feel the same way, the return on investment of what a student can get for a short-term program at a beauty school, 4 and 5 years out of licensure after building their clientele, is more than I believe you're going to get in many other versions of higher ed with your standard typical 2 and 4 year degrees. You're into the workforce quicker in an area that you're uber passionate about. Like, I think that's the biggest part. It's not just a generic field. Folks that get into this line of work are very interested either in the creative side or the soothing side, whatever it might be, but they have a passion for it, And so being able to lean in on that for not a huge cost in relation to what you can earn and your earnings potential over the long span of your career. I feel like it's one of the best returns on investment in education that someone can get into. But again, not everybody has that down payment. Not everybody has that full amount that they can be able to go and say, this is what I want to do. I'm going to pay you up front and be able to go to school. They need that assistance. They need that opportunity. And that's what the Title IV or the financial aid program was created for, was to give opportunities to the citizens of this country. And unfortunately, the rules that are being put in place right now are taking some of that opportunity away from the institutions that have been really training students well for many, many years and have utilized financial aid to make those dreams come true. So I agree with you 100%. We see it a lot here with my institutions here in South Carolina. Predominantly, my students use some form of financial aid to help cover their cost of education, but they're also graduating with a median loan debt that's less than $10,000 per student. So that's why I say I think it's a great value for dollar.
That is a huge point that are, my friends, my family that have gone to traditional college, we all know people that we can use it as examples that are still paying off student loan debt from a traditional college program that are not even using the degree that they went to school for because maybe they weren't passionate about it. They didn't figure out exactly what they wanted to do and were maybe pushed into that situation. As you mentioned, this is a career of passion. Now, this is also a career that really, really supports women dominantly. And that is something that I think is really important to mention because I think a lot of people, when we're talking about gainful employment, right? So that word, you maybe have heard this or seen this in a news article if you're listening, but gainful employment is basically measuring what you paid for school to what your earning potential is, correct?
That was the previous rules, right? It was really looking at, what are students having to cut, or what is the cost of a program versus what can you make after you graduate the program. The department's new measurement, it's considered in this do no harm framework is how it was passed through legislation. But really the way that they are looking at measuring a school is now saying, well, what would a student make if they only had a high school degree and had been working for 10 plus years versus someone who went to some form of higher education, whether it be a certificate program or 2 year, 4 year, or master's degrees. And are they making more than that high school earner? The challenges we have in our industry when you start looking at earnings data is there's a lot of underreporting or unreported of income, and the flexibility portion of our industry, which is such a huge point, which is one of the reasons that a lot of folks gravitate towards the beauty
Especially
industry.
women. Yes, like
100%
very
is they
important
have that
that people
option.
want to have kids. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I was just having a conversation with an esthetician this past weekend, and I just was asking her, I said, hey, what's your schedule look like? What kind of hours do you put in? I'm just curious. I try to do at least 6 hours a day, but there's days in the week where I need to take time off, whether it's to take the kids to an appointment or to do something else related to taking care of family. And, so she's putting in 30 or less hours a week and is still doing very well for herself. And she gets to make her own hours, make her own schedule, and makes enough to be comfortable in her family situation. And to your point, Bobbi, right? Like 98% of my students are female students. The majority of beauty professionals, it's predominantly a female driven industry. It is the industry that has put more females into entrepreneurship than any other industry in the world, which, if you think about it, is so empowering, right? It gives people that don't have the option to be able to go 40 hours a week or working some set schedule. It gives them the opportunity to be creative, set their own schedule, and make to what their heart's content is to make. And you just can't find that in any other type of industry.
Yeah, it's a huge benefit even in, with schools like in the admissions meetings. It's something that we talk about as a pro. I mean, sometimes we have people that are changing careers from nursing or these other fields to come into something where they can still work and still be passionate about something, still take care of people, right? Because that's usually like the main draw is they want
Right.
to help
Right. That's what's in
people.
here, right?
Yes, exactly. And so they're able to do that even maybe after they've had kids or just after they want some more work life balance, right? Even if it's not for kids, if it's just for work life balance. And so it's such a positive, but in this situation, it hurts the industry. It hurts the numbers, let's say. It doesn't hurt the industry, but it hurts the numbers and what they're looking at. So those metrics are super important. And I think again, this is going into things that a lot of people just don't think about or it doesn't come up in their day. But I know that there's a lot of schools because you had mentioned the income reporting. There are a lot of people that, I mean, same like for restaurants and stuff like that, like any tip earning, career where that's a big part of what you're making, people weren't reporting that. And we have done so much in schools. And I know your school has as well. I know tons of other schools that have been like, wait a minute, we need to make sure that the students are ready. State boards maybe not requiring, financial planning or whatever, but
Mhm.
we're as private schools, right? Like, so not, the state schools that aren't required to do these things, like we're putting that in. It's extra money, it's extra time, it's a cost for the school to do these things, but to make sure that the graduates are doing what they need to do when they leave. Again, that's a responsibility that private schools, take on, and we're trying to correct it as much as we can. We can't make people do the right thing. Like, I wish we could. That would be so wonderful, fix the world, all the things, but all we can do is try to educate. And I know that that's a big piece of this as well. So I just think that as we're talking about what beauty professionals can be doing, I think that's the first thing that we really want to make sure that everyone is reporting income the way that they need to be reporting income, because that is a way that you can help the industry to make it better, and again, show what you're earning. It's exciting. It's awesome to be able to talk about the money that people are making, especially when we're talking about people working part-time and what they're able to earn doing that.
No, I would agree. I think about, as a parent, right? You think of things differently than you did when you were a kid, and the objective is to, you know, teach onto them things that you wish you would have had taught onto you, or to,
Mhm.
leave the universe in a better place whenever I leave here because of the things that we did for the next group that comes behind us. And I think we're at that pivotal point in the industry that really the salon groups, they pushed really really hard for about 10 years to try and get legislation passed for no tax on tips. And as part of last year's packages with legislation, no tax on tips did pass for beauty professionals. Now, I'm not here giving tax advice, so always speak to your CPA or who does your financials. But folks have the opportunity, and depending on what you're making as a whole household, up to $25,000 worth of tip income that's non-taxable at your standard tax rates. So it would behoove us as industry professionals to start claiming some of that current unclaimed income. Not only is that going to help you when you go to, get a loan for the house or get a loan for the car when they're asking you for what your earnings are, but it's also going to set the foundation for those who are interested in careers for beauty in the future. You have parents that don't necessarily see the benefit of their child wanting to choose this pathway because they look at, the statistics on the show, you can make X amount of dollars. Or the guidance counselors when they're in high school and these students that are the creatives and they have these conversations, they're being shown information that we feel is not the true representation of what the potential of this industry is. And if it was actually showing that, I feel the industry as a whole would benefit. So that I think is another huge area. Like you say, as schools, we put business programs into our curriculum because we understand the need. I mean, and most of the students today, I think it's about 40%, at least in my area, want to be their own boss. They don't want to go straight into a commission salon. And we have those conversations. There's tons of benefits of going into commission salons and spas right off the graduation side, but we also know that folks want to do their own thing, and all we can do is provide them with as many tools and as much information for them to make the best informed decision for themselves. But teaching them these business portions outside of just the practical side of whether it's doing skin or hair or nails, they need to understand that you're also a business professional. And so we do add those pieces into our curriculum. We feel it's one of the better parts of the investment when you really look at what costs are associated with, whether it's a kit and the books, it gives them such a tool to use beyond graduation once they have that foundation that it can really springboard them to success. And that doesn't happen necessarily in your public schools or during your vocational programs. And it is schools that are the private schools that really see value in these types of programs, adding them into our curriculum and weaving them through the entire process.
I think that's another important thing to mention about ACTS as well, is that ACTS, when you're a member, you going to these to the conferences or to like the different events that are happening, those business classes, the finance classes, like you're so connected because of organizations like this, that you're really able to find that help you need. You might be like, hey, I'm looking to add this in. Hey, I saw Garrett and Bobbi talking about the financial piece to all of this, and I want to add this in. And ACTS does a really great job of making sure that, the right businesses are in front of schools to make that, make putting that into your education even easier as well. Just another benefit of what, you all are doing, and why organizations like this that you might be like, oh, that's just the government piece or whatever. I mean, it's just a lot bigger than that. And when you said that, I want to make sure that we mention that that's why this organization is important as well. And if school owners are listening, it's just really helpful to have people there to help you through things like this. It's like, you don't need it till you need it kind of thing. And when you do, you're super thankful that you have people there to help you with all of this.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Hey, beauty students and educators. I'm excited to share that Beauty School Bobbi is now supported by BeautyCast Network, your go-to career services and placement platform for the beauty industry. Free to schools, educators, and students, BeautyCast Network connects you with top artists, influencers, and educators who inspire and empower the next generation of pros. From webinars and newsletters to virtual career showcases, competitions, and scholarship pop-ups, the platform is packed with tools to build non-technical skills, encourage career readiness, and help students launch amazing careers as they approach their graduation date. Learn more at beautycastnetwork.com to help your students thrive and take their career to the next level. Now back to the episode.
I want to talk about what you guys have going on in April. So April, you all will be, it's April 16th. Correct?
It's April 14th and 15th. Yes.
Okay. It's April 14th and 15th in Washington, DC, and you all are you're hosting Hill Day, which happens every year, but this year, I think, in a much bigger way. So tell me about what you all are doing in Washington at that time.
So yeah, we organized a AACS Hill Day each year where we invite the members to come to Washington, D.C. and schedule meetings with their state representatives in Washington. We really try to get folks lined up with who might be in their district. If you have a single campus, whether it be where you live or maybe you have a campus that you travel to, try to get folks to just sit down and have a meeting and talk about the challenges or some of the great things that are happening within our schools. I think it's education is really the number one part of going to Hill Day, because let's be honest, these folks, they deal with a lot of different issues, and not every, senator or every member of the House is on the committees that really dig into the weeds of issues that might be happening to us as an industry, whether it's schools or students or what have you. So going to have that conversation and educating them in their offices, whether it's with the member themselves or whether it's with staff members, it's really an empowering experience. You get to be a part of government. And so we started to do this many, many years ago, and it became kind of our annual thing. And traditionally, we have about 60 to 75 schools that show up. Last year, we had almost 100 schools. This year, we're looking at over 120 right now, just because folks are seeing the value in going and just getting our message across, really telling the stories of our institutions, right? Like, Bobbi, you have stories about where you're at. I have stories about where I'm at. There's historical perspective about the longevity of our schools and how many graduates we have put into the industry here in just the state of South Carolina. It's crazy to sit back and actually think about it. But really having the opportunity to get up there and say, hey, look, this is what is going to happen with the way things are at the moment. And if things don't change, you can expect these impacts in your district. And it's not going to be just from me as Garrett Schuler from Kenneth Shuler Schools. It's also going to be a ton of small businesses, and female small businesses at that, in our salon and spa industry that are going to see the ripple effect of these challenges should schools lose access to federal financial aid, and really supporting that next generation of stylists. So it's very important for us to go. And I know sometimes it can be a little bit kind of spooky and scary and like, oh my gosh, but you have to sit back and think they're just people. You may not always agree with their positions on certain things, and you don't have to, but it is going and speaking what you know to be true about who you are, why you do what you do, and the impacts that you make, to at least educate them on, this is what this will do if we don't make a change. And I am here to let you know that in person, because it means that much to me to be here. And it means that much for the people that I support, because it's not just Garrett. Right? Like, I have 150 employees that make up Kenneth Shuler School of Cosmetology. And if I don't have those people doing the things that each and every one of them do, then we don't have schools. So I'm there supporting my staff who have made a decision in their lives that, you know what, I want to educate. And so I'm advocating for their futures. I'm advocating for them to be able to follow their passions and their dreams. And I'm also there to advocate on behalf of the students that I have today and those that'll be coming in the future. So it's
Yeah.
a very important event. We have folks that have been for many, many years. I myself have been for at least 7 or 8 different years. And so even if it's someone's first time going, we have folks that have been there who have done it and who are more than happy to either walk you through with it or attend a meeting with you, or you shadow with them and just be a part of a meeting with us just to see what it's like and to realize, you know what, this isn't so bad. Because again, we're just going to speak our truths, and that's really easy to do. And everybody, you have your talking points, but we really just go up and speak to the really key issues that we have as an industry. And this year, our big key issue is the one that we just spoke about. And then it's the new kind of measuring of the schools on their value to the taxpayer. And we just need to let them know how it's not really a true representation, and it's going to have some unintended consequences.
Yeah, I mean, you and I know that we meet with people all the time, parents that are like, they go on the tour, with their child, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea." Like, it's okay that people don't know about beauty schools, that have not been to a beauty school, and that maybe they, go get their hair cut and they've never talked to the person that's, doing their hair about what licensure was required to do this or what work was put in, right? Like, we already know that there's a ton of misconceptions. It's really important that we share that with the people that are making laws that are going to affect us. And I think it's an easy thing to talk about. Like, we all love what we do so much and are so proud of, like you said, it's for your staff, it's for the students that are attending your school. We're all so proud of it. I can't even talk about it without smiling. Like, I think it's just really good to share the love and passion, because I would just guess that most people in that position haven't been into a beauty school before, probably. And so all we can do is just share that knowledge. And there's so much good. And like you said, even if they don't agree, they might, at least make them think differently about what beauty school is and what it means and how much passion is there. So even if it's just that, it's just worth it for them to see who we are, and what we're doing. And I like that you pointed out that you'll be prepped in a way that you don't have to go in blind and just be like, here I am to talk with
Yeah.
my senator about whatever, like, you're prepped and prepared for that too.
Absolutely. And we try to do webinars and issue talking points ahead of time, give folks a line of communication if they have questions or if they feel uncertain. We'll be meeting the day before and just having the opportunity to just flesh out any sort of concerns or worries and really just calm folks down. And like, it's just another normal day, just telling your story, just like what we're doing right here. So those first meetings, once you get the jitters out, everything seems to just fall in place. And most folks that attend that first year are ready to come back the next year because they just see the kind of impact that you can have just making a visit like that. And I just want to hit on another point, as you had mentioned, we've invited our local state representatives to come to our schools and toured them around just to see. I think there's this misconception that, beauty school is just easy, right? And then you hand them a textbook and say, this is the lesson that they're actually learning today. Do you see all of these components? Like, we're not just in here playing with Barbies, right? Like, there is a lot to be learned about this industry. And I do think that goes a little bit overlooked when they're just sitting down in the chair getting their hair done from the person who had to go through all of that training is standing behind them. But it is impressive when they come in and they are wowed. Like, oh, so there's these classrooms and you guys are doing theoretical bookwork, and then they're doing the practical side to learn all of this. And then they're solidifying that education with hands-on, working with the public, safety, sanitation, disinfection, all of these lessons all the way throughout the entire program. It's a lot. And it's, I think, very surprising for some when they do learn. I do enjoy when I have to go to the the state level just to deal with anything here in my state of South Carolina. And I love hearing a panel of a bunch of old guys talk about cosmetology and related things. And it's no disrespect to those guys, but again, it's not their field. These guys are either doctors, lawyers, and they're standing up there talking about cosmetology and spa related things. It's funny, but it takes time to educate them on these intricacies of our industry so that they can make the best informed decision, not one that might be a little bit uninformed and not really truly understand what the consequences or impact of it may be. So that's important. It's not just federally that we pay attention to these things. That's where really AACS does spend a good amount of time on advocacy, is at the federal level. We spend a lot of time discussing educational things too, as in networking with your peers at our conferences to learn about, these different business programs, or seeing what our partner members have to offer to supplement your programs. But even at the state level, we have seen a few challenges come up, and it's really our members and the schools in those states being active and keeping your ear to the ground of what things might be coming up, and then having those conversations with your state legislatures, because they're just as important as having the conversations with our federal legislators.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you can just like even get your feet wet to attend an event like Hill Day, just to even like observe until you're comfortable and until you're ready. Because again, if and when it happens in your state, or you need to be ready, like you don't want to go in blind. Having that preparation is key. And again, it's not something that I ever thought about coming into this industry. It wasn't something that I ever thought we would even be talking about, but when you need it, you need it. And it's really important that, we're ready for it. And we're just ready to continue to like cheer on these students that want to do this, and to continue to have the success stories. Like that's really the main thing, is like, we really want to fight for that. And I think beauty professionals that have already been through beauty school, are now out there working. It's just really important to look back and say, what would my experience have been if I didn't have financial aid, if I didn't have this option, if I didn't. So it's not even just for the schools. Like I think it's really important for all beauty professionals to give this whatever amount of time and attention you can give this, because I think it's going to be really helpful in the long run to just have as many people, as many voices as we can. And when it's time to share those success stories, like I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to show that like this person starting out at this income level that was able to receive, Pell Grant and support and all the things through the time to make and look where they are now. We all have so many stories to talk about and to share. And so it's easy to back up. I think it's easy to be able to go do that. So like I said, I hope it's not scary. I hope this is actually like exciting to be like, they're talking about us. Like, I like it. I'm like, oh, look, like they're talking about us. This is the government, and I think if we can kind of make that turn again for somebody that maybe didn't think that this would be part of their career path or whatever, like it is. And I want to build that excitement around something that, sometimes isn't the most fun, or there's a lot of maybe terms that people don't understand, or things that are being said. And so I really think that it's a great time to get involved. So Garrett, as far as call to action from beauty professionals, schools, students, what is AACS asking for right now?
So yeah, I'll get to that in just a moment, because I want to add something, because you said something and it just
Okay.
started resonating to me, right? And I'm like this big believer in, I would rather change be done by me than change be done to me. And so to be a
Mm-hmm.
part of those conversations, sometimes you do have to take those uncomfortable steps and voice how these things are going to impact you. And yes, it's can be a little bit, scary to go to Washington, but it's actually a really cool place to see, like, this is how everything works in our country. And again, you can either agree or disagree with some of the things that happen there, but being in there to see part of that process and to know this is just how history has evolved with conversations like this, I think it's really empowering, and it's just a neat experience to be a part of. So just for that alone, it's worth the trip. But as far as what the industry we're looking for, you know, I think you started to hit on it there, Bobbi. It's telling your personal stories. It's, hey, I had the opportunity to go to beauty school because of access to financial aid to cover my expenses. And I have been able to do X, Y, and Z with my license. And this is my position that I'm in now. And if it wasn't for being able to go to beauty school and the beauty school of my choice, I would have never been in the position that I am in right now. And I think those are very powerful. And so many members of our community have those stories. And so once we know, and I say we, once the AACS is aware of when the department is thinking of opening up their comment period, because how rules work, they propose rules and regulations. And if they get consensus, then they compile them for a final notice and a 30-day at least comment period. So once the department proposes these final regulations for comment, they will have 30 days to submit any comments about those new rules. And so for us as an association, we are currently in the phases of putting together our talking points or some of the really hot items that we think will make some of the best comments to teach and to educate our members on how to create the best comment that's going to get the most traction and the most exposure, and then letting our members tell their stories, right? Just kind of stick to that little bit of a bullet point, but make it very unique. We don't want a bunch of copy pastes. We need these to be very individualized stories with very specific points. Like me, 60 years in business, second generation school owner who's educated probably 10,000 or more graduates in the last, 20 years, right? And adding a lot of that context to your comments and just how, hey, either I disagree with these rules or I agree with the way that certain things are written. This is part of the process. This is part of our civic duties as a nation, which probably don't get discussed as much as they should. But these are the things that are part of the process. And if you want to be a part of the change of processes, this is what you have to go through. And so that's the next steps. We feel that'll happen sometime here within the next few weeks. Again, they have not really given us an indicator of when they're going to propose the new rule for that comment period, but there will be a 30-day window. There'll be outreach from the association, not only to our member schools, but to other school owners, to the professional industry. We're really trying to work some relationships with some of the other large, big independent salon groups so that they can help get the message across of the importance of really folks going in and just talking about their individual stories. And it does kind of get back to what you were saying. If I didn't have this opportunity in my coming up and going through the process, I wouldn't be here to where I am today. I know of many salon owners that have hired or have employed now umpteen number of people. And all of that starts with that one little license piece of paper that says I'm a cosmetologist or I'm an esthetician. And now they are these fantastic members of society who are giving other opportunities to other women in their areas or other men or whomever, right? Like, it's opportunity, and we don't want to see that go away.
Yes. Well, absolutely, Garrett. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. Now, for those that want to follow along, obviously, we can follow AACS on social media. And so we will tag this episode and put in the notes in the episode descriptions where we can follow. But I know that if anybody has any questions, I know that you're so available and so open, and we can definitely get people connected if they want to talk further about this issue or what they can do to help. I know both of us are available and excited to talk about it. And like I said, can connect you with the right people in your state, in your area, to make this change. And so when you see that time open up, like I know AACS will be blowing that up. And so hopefully that will make its way to you if you're listening right now, so you know what you can be doing to help. But Garrett, is there anything else, or are you good on informing on, like, again, the most basic level? I think we did really good of not going in too deep. I feel like I understood all the things that were happening. So if we understood it, hopefully the audience did too.
Yeah, it's really easy to get into the weeds on this stuff. We've had to deal with these types of regulations and different iterations of regulations for many, many, many years. And so it's not new news to us to have these conversations and to just talk about the challenges. At the end of the day, for us, it seems to always boil down to we do have an income reporting challenge in our industry. And that would be my number one wish, that we could start to see that be chipped away at and really
Mhm.
start to see these true representations of the earnings potential that our industry actually has. And, look, not everybody can go out and be, this great success right off Jump Street. My dad's told the story many a times. It took him 8 years to really build his clientele to be at the level that he wanted it to be at. And that's hard time. That's dedication. And I don't think that a school should be reprimanded for their students needing that kind of time to get to where they need to be.
Mhm.
Some of these athletes, they're professionals. They didn't just get there overnight. It does take time. And I think, we need to let that time be there for those folks to really get their clients. But we also need our folks that are out there in the industry working to really show what the true representation of this. We want to elevate careers in beauty to not be something by default, but something by choice. And that's really important for us. It's really important for me. I mean, my wife's a hairdresser. I love seeing hairdressers do well. It should be something that is championed. It should be something that is excited, and folks should be chomping at the bit to get in this industry because of all the great factors, like, right? Like, let's be real. It's also pretty fun. Like, we haven't even
Mhm.
said that part of it. We talked about all these other pieces, but it's actually a really fun industry to be in because you get to be creative, you get to be yourself, and you get to express yourself with your customers and build a community of people around you and just support them. And it's a fabulous place to be and a fabulous thing to be a part of. So we just
Mhm.
want to preserve that as much as we can. And I hope we didn't get too far into the weeds on it. But, if we ever need to go into any more depth or talk about more of these challenges, I'd love to. But I just think at this point, really everybody expressing why they love this industry, what it has done for them, and to not take that opportunity away from people tomorrow and in the future is so important, so empowering, and will make a difference when the time comes.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Garrett, and explaining all of that to us. But thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and all of the members that are there that are part of AACS, and all of the people that are just doing things behind the scenes. It's definitely appreciated, and we're just thankful that you took time to share with us today.
No, absolutely. And again, like I said, it's not just me. There's a ton of folks that make this stuff happen behind the scenes, and I just would love to acknowledge all of them. But it's also folks like you, Bobbi, who are getting these messages out, who are reaching out to a network of individuals. And again, it gets back to it's informing, it's educating. And I think we all can get behind education, right? It doesn't
Hmm.
stop the day you graduate. Education continues on and on and on, whether you're listening to things like a podcast or whether you're reading books or you're taking short classes or just learning things wherever you can get that access. It's
Hmm.
important for us to always be lifelong learners. And so thank you for getting this kind of information out to those folks so they can continue to learn themselves.
Yes. Well, like I said on our phone call, thanks for explaining it to me in a way that I can understand. And thank you for sharing everything today. And I know that we'll be
You're
talking
welcome.
more. I can't wait to see, all of the goodness from Hill Day. I'm not going to be able to attend this year, which is like breaking my heart. I'm trying to literally rearrange plans, but I know that the industry is going to be represented so
Awesome.
well, and that you all will be sharing such great information. So I can't wait to see that. So thank you so much, Garrett. And make sure that if you are listening today, that you are following along at the Beauty School Bobbi podcast. Make sure you look at the episode notes down below to see where you can get more information about all of this with the American Association of Career Schools. And we will see you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.